Over the years, Nintendo EPD Tokyo have released a lot of different games, most recently with Donkey Kong Bananza. So, Dimitri and I wanted to go back and look through all of the games that they developed and rank them on a tier list. There's a lot of variety here, and a lot of excellent games, and a few that are a bit weird that you might not have even expected Nintendo EPD Tokyo to have developed. And also, for clarification, this includes Nintendo EAD Tokyo before they changed the EPD in 2015. So this goes back to 2004, 2005 when they released Donkey Kong Jungle Beat. So there are a lot of interesting games that we're going to be going through here.
Yes. When it comes to developers, Nintendo EPD is amongst my favorites. In fact, it is my favorite. So going into a tier list, automatically, I'm selecting between some of the most peak games of all time. So when it comes to ranking these games, I'm only gonna save, like, my absolute favorites for S ranking. And you'll see why I'm bringing this up, but regardless, I'm very excited to do this tier list.
Oh yeah, and also, we're gonna be kind of ranking this in terms of Nintendo EPD Tokyo standards. So not really like games in general, so we're holding these games to a pretty high standard here. Like, S tier is like 10 out of 10 here. But let's go ahead and get started with Donkey Kong Jungle Beat. I've only played this game like a couple times, and it is pretty fun from what I've played. It's really weird and wacky. I know you have a lot more experience with this game, Dimitri, so I'll let you kind of talk about this one.
Yes, I'll be more than happy to take the lead for this one. I just did a review of Donkey Kong Jungle Beat back in July before Bananza released, and I played it on both the Wii and the GameCube. With the GameCube version, you use the DK bongos to control it. That's the one I'm gonna mainly focus on, but also include aspects from the Wii game. This is such an underrated, wacky game. Making a platformer with bongos as the main controllers, well, you can use a GameCube controller, but you definitely want to use the bongos since the entire game was developed around them. It seems like an impossible task, but not only did they make it work, but it's a damn good game. It's pretty much a 2D platformer that's a score attack game. It's not like the Donkey Kong Country games, which have very precise rhythmic 2D platforming. This is more about getting the most combos. You can increase the combos by staying in the air longer, doing tricks, stuff like that. The game has a lot of replay value. Going for the highest rankings is one of the most replayable aspects of the game. And I know it's a 2D platformer, and it's not typically what Nintendo EPD would make, but I'm gonna put this in S tier. This is how you start a game development career, and I highly recommend everyone check out Donkey Kong Jungle Beat. And really, another cool aspect about it is you see the parallels between Donkey Kong Jungle Beat and Donkey Kong Bananza. They're very different games, but you definitely see that Jungle Beat influence in Bananza, which is great to see. This was the first game that made Donkey Kong expressive, and with the Rareware model, it's a little more limited, because the design itself, it doesn't allow for as much expression, but they did a great job with it. I especially find it hilarious when Donkey Kong just gawks at the fruit. Like he's sticking his tongue out, he's drooling, it's hilarious.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to play more of this game soon, because it looks really fun from what I've seen, and I just really like how wacky and expressive it looks. It really seems like it was kind of the foundation of EPD Tokyo here. It really seems like everything kind of built off of this, like, because it seems like some of the character designs are reminiscent of what they made in, like, Galaxy, and then later Odyssey and Bananza, so it really seems like this was kind of like the fitting starting point here. You could see the roots and the DNA of what they developed later on in this game, so I definitely think it looks pretty interesting. But moving on, we have Super Mario Galaxy, and I think this game is excellent. I would say it is a bit overrated, because it definitely isn't my favorite 3D Mario game. We'll talk about those later. But in terms of presentation, I think this is where the game shines. It has a really good story for a 3D Mario game. I love the Comet Observatory, definitely one of my favorite hub areas in the franchise. I would say the level design is great. There are a couple weird levels in there. The music is excellent. And I would say it is a really good game, and I would probably say S tier, but I want to hear your thoughts on it, Demeech.
Ah, you ripped off that band-aid before I got the chance, because I too think that Super Mario Galaxy is a star bit overrated. Yes, it's an amazing game. It's got some amazing level design, presentation still held up really well. I just think that with it controls itself and like the physics and stuff, Mario's movement, it's not as fun as something like the movement in Super Mario Sunshine or later Super Mario Odyssey. It's just more limited. That's not saying the controls are bad or anything, but when I play a 3D Mario game, part of the fun is Mario's moveset, and it's not as diverse as it was in Super Mario Sunshine. But everything else, really just level design, the power-ups, and yes, there are some weird ones like Spring Mario, and there's also B Mario. They're not the most useful, but they certainly are charming.
Yeah.
It's a great game. I think that most would put it in S tier, but like I said before, I want to save S tier for only my favorite game, so put it in A tier.
Yeah. I think I'll put it in A tier here. I personally would put it in S tier, but I would say kind of a compromise would be like high A tier. So, but yeah, we're saving S for like the absolute like best games. And I know you love Jungle Beat, so I'll leave that there. But let's move on to Flipnote Studio. This is really nostalgic because I got a DSi back in 2009, and I remember like using Flipnote Studio quite a lot, even though I made some like really crude, like crappy animations on there. Like for something that you'd expect a little kid to make. But it was cute. It's I still had a lot of fun doing it, even though I just like it was mostly just poorly drawn Yoshi and SpongeBob that I made on there. But it's really charming, and I love all the creations that people have made on Flipnote Studio over the years. Like we're still seeing like a lot of really popular like Flipnote Studio like inspired animators. Like there's that one do you know the one that I'm talking about, the trying to remember, they did like the Let's Go Gambling, like they did that one.
I think I've seen that, but man,
it's
you had me talk about Donkey Kong Jungle Beat.
It's Raxty Flipnote. It's Raxty Flipnote. That's who makes them. Yeah, we're still seeing like Flipnote Studio like animators in 2025. So I feel like this definitely has like a lot of influence.
Man, you started off with Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, and now we're on the Flipnote Studio already. Oh my gosh, I have a lot to say about Flipnote Studio. So this is the main reason why I wanted to get a Nintendo DSi. And let me tell you, it was so worth it. Making Flipnotes was easy. It's a process anyone can understand. Whether or not you use the skills you learn in Flipnote to make something extravagant or Funny Dora 5, that's really up to you. But I cannot stress enough how much time I spent in Flipnote Studio. I literally played it every day back when I had a Nintendo DSi. I still have it, but in its prime, I played Flipnote Studio all the time, especially in 5th grade. But the real highlight was Flipnote Hatena. It was essentially Nintendo's own version of YouTube, or TikTok. More like TikTok if you really think about it, because it really focused on short-form content. It was TikTok before TikTok! Minus the malware, too.
Better than TikTok.
So... Oh, absolutely. And there were just so many good Flipnotes on Flipnote Hatena. Yes, there was a common theme. There were the star-begging Flipnotes. There were also the countless spin-offs, which someone would just download a Flipnote and re-upload it. Yeah, they even had their own genre of reaction videos. Only thing they were missing is AI slop. But man, Flipnote Studio was just amazing, and Flipnote Hatena was really everything that held it together. It was the peanut butter to the jelly. So not only did you have a great animation tool with so much love, charm, and passion, but you also had an entire service where you could just watch Flipnotes. Yeah, I pretty much would doom scroll through Flipnote Hatena. And simply put, the only criticism I have of Flipnote Studio is that I wish there were more color options available, because the only colors you can use are black, white, red, and blue. You could make purple by mixing some of the paintbrushes, the blue and the red. You could also make brown, but you really had to get creative for that. I don't know why. DSi had full color. It's not like we're in the Game Boy era. But regardless, despite that minor criticism, S tier and nothing else.
I would personally say A tier just for EPD Tokyo standards. I would say maybe I just personally since I even though I love Flipnote Studio, I would say though I do prefer Galaxy over that. So I would just personally put it in A tier. Still excellent though.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm being objective, A tier is still good. For me, at least, so personally, I want everyone to know that Flipnote Studio is an S tier for me.
Yeah. But moving on, we have Super Mario Galaxy 2. Now, this game is absolutely incredible. I feel like this is the perfect sequel to Super Mario Galaxy. A few years ago, if you asked me which game I would have preferred, I probably would have said Galaxy 1, but since I've been playing Galaxy 2 a lot more, even before the remaster released, like I actually did a playthrough of Galaxy 2 last year on the Wii, and it blew me away. It basically fixes all of Galaxy 1's problems, I would say, and it just makes the game even better. A lot of people like to say that like it's not as good because the presentation isn't as good, it's a bit more linear, and it doesn't have as good of a story. But honestly, I feel like those criticisms are a bit overblown. It's really... I've seen some people say it looks generic. I do not think that at all. Like, it has a ton of really interesting and creative locations in the game. I would say just as creative as Galaxy 1, if not even more in some areas. There are a lot of really cool ideas like Puzzle Plank Galaxy, and even some of the later areas of the game have like, and even like some really cool callbacks too, like Starshine Beach Galaxy and like the Throwback Galaxy. And I feel like the power-ups are even better here as well. Like with the Cloud Flower is pretty fun, like for platforming. Yoshi's power-ups are really fun. It's just like excellent all around. And like the level design, I would say, is like some of the best we've seen. Like, I would say not as good as like two of the other games that I'm gonna mention, you'll see later on, but man, Galaxy 2 is such a fun game, and there is so much content in this game. Like, on top of like all the regular missions, you have the green stars, and like just like there's so much to do. I know there's a lot to do in Galaxy 1, but it feels like Galaxy 2 is just filled to the brim with things you could do. I would say my only criticisms is the fact that there aren't as many missions per galaxy as there were on Galaxy 1. I would have preferred if there were a little more, and I would say there are a bit too many like 2D sections. I would prefer like more open areas, though there are some open areas that I like Starshine Beach and different things, but everything about Galaxy 2 is like excellent. It definitely feels more refined than Galaxy 1. Yoshi is implemented amazingly, and Lubba. It has Lubba, one of the most amazing Mario characters. So there's also the chimp too. The chimp is also an amazing character. So everything about Galaxy 2 is just incredible. So I would definitely have to put it in S tier.
I would absolutely agree with you there. I'll just use this opportunity to explain why I've always felt that Super Mario Galaxy 2 is way better than Super Mario Galaxy. Let's start with the presentation, because this is one I don't see brought up often. With Super Mario Galaxy, it stays very close to the space theme, which is cool in terms of theming, but it does make all of the galaxies look a bit dark, like there's always a night sky, which makes sense because you're in space. But Galaxy 2 also did that, and it's just more bright, more colorful. I think Galaxy 2 looks a lot better and it's more varied.
Yeah.
But Galaxy still looks great.
I would say...
Then I'd say there's more variety when it comes to the level design.
Oh, yeah.
There's just more gimmicks. Power-ups are better, too. The Cloud Flower and the Rock Mushroom, they are so much better than a lot of other power-ups in the Galaxy games.
Yeah.
Especially the Cloud Flower. Like, the highlight of them is that they enhance Mario's abilities without feeling like, oh, this is just a key to get a star.
Yeah.
Especially with the Cloud Flower.
Also,
Rock Mushroom is a little bit situational, but still a great power-up.
yeah. And also, I like the glaze the boss fights a little bit too, because they are so fun. I mean, Galaxy 1 does have its fair share of great bosses, like Bouldergeist, but Galaxy 2 has just a ton of memorable bosses. Like Gobblegut's really fun, Mega Hammer, also like Bowser Jr.'s other boss fights are really fun too. The Bowser boss fights are a little repetitive, but like everything else is excellent. Like I would say before, I'm not gonna spoil which game this is, but before one of the other games we're gonna mention, it had some of Nintendo's, or at least EPD Tokyo's best bosses. It was just excellent.
Yeah, I gotta say that bosses are usually the Achilles heel of Mario games, but Super Mario Galaxy 2 has some excellent bosses. Another aspect about the game, Yoshi, as you brought up, this has got to be the best implementation of Yoshi I've seen. Usually in games where you can't take Yoshi out of levels, I always feel like Yoshi is underutilized. He wasn't utilized enough in New Super Mario Bros. Wii, he wasn't utilized enough in New Super Mario Bros. U,
Or Sunshine.
and he certainly wasn't utilized enough in Super Mario Odyssey. Sunshine, a little bit better than those, but still, I would have liked to see more of him. But Galaxy 2, yes, I would have loved more Yoshi, but just because I'm greedy, the amount of Yoshi in the game, gotta be the best implementation, and the power-ups are fun too.
Oh, yeah.
I especially like the Dash Pepper. And how clever, too, giving Yoshi power-ups based on fruit. Galaxy 2 is a masterpiece.
Oh, yeah.
I can say what I want about the collection itself that just released on the Nintendo Switch, but one thing I cannot say is I'm not enjoying Super Mario Galaxy 2.
Oh, yeah.
Because revisiting it, it's so nice.
Oh, I am having a ton of fun replaying it on the Switch too. Despite the collection having some problems, I cannot deny that I'm having a lot of fun with Galaxy
Hey,
2.
tax write-offs.
Yeah.
I had to choose between chasing ghosts down the hall and just collecting power stars. That's a good struggle to have.
Yeah.
Oh, this is going to be interesting, the next one. I'm going to
Okay.
start this one off.
Okay.
So, following Super Mario Galaxy 2, how does Nintendo top it? Well, they don't, because they released Super Mario 3D Land. But hold up, before you leave your comments, I think Super Mario 3D Land is a good game. I just think it's not very creative. See, it has a good idea. I like the concept of it being a 3D Mario game that plays like a 2D Mario game. But my main issue with it is just the level theming and just the game itself. It feels very by the books. Like, there are some cool themes here and there and stuff like that. There are memorable moments, but everything just kind of feels rehashed. But really, the main problem with the game is just that it's not very creative. It feels a little bit vanilla. So
Yeah.
I would have to put it in B tier.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
probably one of the weaker Nintendo EPD games, but a weak Nintendo EPD game is still going to be better than a lot of games out there.
Yeah, I agree with B tier here. I think 3D Land is a great game. It is, yeah, like you said, it is generic. I wish it had more. There are like a few interesting level themes here and there. Like, I like the one that kind of resembles TikTok Clock a little bit, and also like the food themed levels. It did seem like they were taking a little bit of inspiration from Galaxy 1 and 2. But I wish there was more of that. I wish it was like, I wish they didn't lean too heavily on like the Super Mario Bros. 3 nostalgia pandering. I feel like they did that a bit too much. I mean, it was cool when the game first came out. Like, I thought it was, I got the game in 2012, but I thought it was really cool seeing the game reference Super Mario Bros. 3, but kind of looking back on it, it seemed like it was a little too forced. But the level design is great. I love how they implemented the power-ups. I feel like they were, I kind of prefer how they handled the power-ups in like 3D Land and World to how they did in the Galaxy games. Even though I do think the level design in Galaxy 2 is a lot better, but still, I love how like the Tanuki suit, except for the fact that you can't like fly with it. You can only like kind of like glide back down with it. But still though, it still works fairly well. And also the boomerang flower is really fun as well. So I do think like the power-ups were implemented fairly well. And like I definitely enjoy this game. I feel pretty nostalgic for it since it came with my 3DS. And it was the first 3DS game I played. So I definitely played this game quite a lot when I was younger. So I do really enjoy it. But I would say, though, objectively, it is one of the weaker 3D Mario games. Not bad by any means, but it's still really good, but it really just kind of did its job. It was supposed to be a fun little 3D Mario game on the 3DS, and it wasn't really supposed to be much more than that, and for what it is, it's pretty good.
One thing I will say is that with 3D Mario games, one of the highlights is that they always take advantage of a system's capabilities, well, at least for the most part, that is. And Super Mario 3D Land took full advantage of the 3D. Like seeing the 3D for the first time, it's incredible. And even looking at it now, it's incredible. I can't say that my eyesight after using the 3D is incredible anymore, but regardless, they did a great job in terms of making a Nintendo 3DS 3D Mario game. I just wish it was more creative, but the next game's Super Mario 3D World, right? Am I missing something?
Surprisingly, no, because we have Flipnote Studio 3D.
You know what? I'm just gonna say it. Make a tier even worse than D tier for Flipnote Studio 3D. Put that game in a tier that is below that. What this game is, I was so excited for Flipnote Studio 3D. They shut down Hatena, and I was looking forward to, a new Flipnote Studio. And I'm like, okay, well, they're shutting down Hatena. That's sad, but Flipnote Studio 3D is still coming soon. Months go by. We don't hear anything. Nintendo says they delayed it in North America and the rest of the world, except for Japan, that is. And they eventually released it in 2015. It was only via Club Nintendo. Then it was only via My Nintendo. And what we got is a gimped version that doesn't let you share Flipnotes to any online service. You could only do it locally, or I think through Street Pass, making the whole thing pointless. It's got the same problem that Super Mario Maker for Nintendo 3DS has, where it's a creative game, it's a creative tool, but you can't share your creations in a logical way.
Yeah.
Therefore, it gets its own tier. And it's a shame, too, because there are some improvements. Like, you can change the colors that are now yellow and green, and making Flipnotes is easier, and there's just more you can do, but why would you want to use it if you couldn't even share them? At this point, it doesn't matter. Because whatever service it was, it would have been shut down by this point regardless. I'm just talking with the time being. Man, this has got to be one of the biggest disappointments I've ever experienced in gaming.
Yeah, I remember downloading this, I think either off of like Club Nintendo or My Nintendo, and trying it out, and it was like, since you couldn't even share anything, it was like, what is even the point of this? I didn't even really use it that much. So, yeah, it really kind of felt pointless in a lot of ways, and was pretty disappointing. I would say it's even worse of a case than Mario Maker on 3DS, because at least with Mario Maker on 3DS, you have, like, some extra content there, like those levels that you could play on the 3DS to, like, unlock the different course parts and things. And at the very least, you could, it is fun to play your own levels in Mario Maker, but, Flipnote Studio 3D, you're really meant to share animations and things, so...
You need to learn to share.
So...
Also, another thing, you also had Super Mario Maker on the Wii U. Yeah, it's cool having one on the Nintendo 3DS, but it's not like it was a replacement.
Yeah.
This was supposed to replace Flipnote Studio, so I'd consider this much worse.
Oh, yeah. But moving on a more positive note, we have Super Mario 3D World. This game is another excellent one. I mean, it's not surprising that we've been seeing so many great games from EPD Tokyo over the years, but 3D World basically takes everything that 3D Land did and makes it even better. Definitely on the quality of the Galaxy games now in terms of, level design, and even, I would even say, aesthetics in a way, because it really isn't that generic. I mean, yeah, it is a little more, it is a little tiny bit more generic than the Galaxy games, but it still has a ton of unique and interesting themes, unique bosses, so many really cool things they do in this game. World Bowser at the end is very, almost, I would say, iconic, and it is just a really memorable game. Multiplayer is really fun, especially when they added it on the Switch. When we were all playing back in 2021, that was a really fun experience. And it is just a really good game. And like 3D Land, it handles power-ups really well. Even better than 3D Land, I would say. So
yeah, because this one, well, most of them in 3D Land were either returning power-ups or variations like the boomerang flower. This has the cat suit and the double cherry and a ton of other items. Basically, with Super Mario 3D World, it's pretty much what Super Mario 3D Land should have been. It's got the creativity, it's got the 3D Mario game that plays like a 2D game style. I absolutely love 3D World. I've always been on that team.
Oh, yeah.
I know nowadays it's been held in a much higher regard, but a few years after it launched, back in 2013, there was always a debate, oh, we want a real 3D Mario game. But I'd say to that, Super Mario 3D World, for the linear style, it does a great job. It's got everything I want. Creativity, amazing power-ups, multiple playable characters, and some excellent multiplayer.
You know,
that's something you can't really get in the other games.
The funny thing
in the list.
Saying that 3D World isn't a real 3D Mario game is like saying Crash Bandicoot isn't a real 3D platformer, or Pac-Man World isn't a real 3D platformer. So...
Ew! Yeah, exactly.
In 3D World, I would say, like, it is definitely, like, a very fun 3D platformer in, like, a lot of different ways, and I feel like it holds up really well in 2025, and it's still worth replaying nowadays. So...
I'm gonna put it in S tier.
Oh, yeah, I would put it in S tier. Would you put it above Jungle Beat, or...
Yes.
Okay.
Despite my hesitation.
I wouldn't put it above Galaxy 2, though, because I just think Galaxy 2 is just incredible, and... if this was my personal tier list, I would put it slightly below Galaxy, because I do have a special place for Galaxy since I've been playing Galaxy since I was a kid, but and I've always loved it. But 3D World, I would say, is still, like, I definitely think that deserves S tier and like a good compromise for this tier list. But
I think I've come to the conclusion that I think that Super Mario 3D World, I prefer it over the first Super Mario Galaxy. I can't exactly describe how. I just think that there's more variety and that it's just overall a more fun game, but both games are still incredible.
Yeah, even though I still prefer Galaxy 1, I can definitely understand where you're coming from there, because, like, especially with, like, your criticisms with Galaxy 1. So, I could definitely understand that there, but... yeah, let's move on to the next two games here with NES Remix and NES Remix 2. So these games were actually co-developed by Indie Zero, but they were still, like, also developed by EPD Tokyo as well, so I think it's fair to include them, because these are really fun games. I really enjoyed them. I have the NES Remix pack on the Wii U, which includes both 1 and 2, and I think both of these are pretty fun. I would say 2 is probably better than 1, because it does include the better NES games, with, like, Kirby's Adventure and Super Mario Bros. 2 and Dr. Mario and different things like that. So I would say, like, it includes more of, like, the interesting NES games. Not to say that NES Remix is, like, bad or anything. I still think it's pretty fun, because the concept in general is great. I just think the second one, in terms of, like, the games that they included, is a little better, I would say. But both of them are really fun. I really like doing the different challenges and then unlocking, like, the remixed versions of them. I thought that was a really cool and creative concept there. So I just think it is a really fun game. And I know they brought it back technically recently with the Nintendo World Championships NES edition, and while I don't think that game is bad by any means, I feel like it's not as interesting as NES Remix, because I don't think there's as much content, and it also doesn't have the remixed stages on them as well. So, but what are your thoughts on the NES Remix games?
These are fantastic games. The first one is mainly black box NES games, you know, like the real classic stuff. The ones that released with the NES or shortly after. It's a good collection, but I would say 2 is even better because the game selection is just more interesting. But 2 also has more side modes. It has Super Luigi Brothers, which is Super Mario Brothers, but you play as Luigi and run mirrored pretty much. So all the levels are mirrored. It's a pretty cool experience. And then you also have the Nintendo World Championships thing. It doesn't really matter now because the servers are down, but you could pretty much compete in leaderboards, stuff like that. It's a really cool game. I feel like they fumbled with Nintendo World Championships NES Edition. It doesn't have the remix levels, so it's nowhere near as interesting. But I'd love to see Nintendo do an NES remix for their other systems. Could you imagine Virtual Boy remix?
Oh, that would be crazy. And they make it compatible with the accessory too. That would make the accessory more worth it if they actually bundled something like that in with it. But yeah,
I would say a good ranking for those would definitely be probably A or B tier.
Yeah, I would
because
say
they are smaller scale games.
Yeah, I would say they're probably pretty close to 3D Land because they're like pretty small scale. I'll put them like around. 2 would basically be tied. 1 would be a little lower, but I think they're excellent games, but like smaller games. So I think I would say B tier is probably fair for this one. But
yeah, I would agree. But yes, the only game from 2014 that is yet to get a sequel from Nintendo. Where do I begin with Captain Toad Treasure Tracker? So this is an entire spin-off of Super Mario 3D World. Super Mario 3D World had a few levels where you played as Captain Toad. These little diorama-like levels where you need to collect stars. And having that turned into a full game, the game itself is just incredible. It's a Nintendo EPD production, and it's a puzzle game. It's a little bit different than a standard 3D platformer since you can't jump. So you're moving around the stages, collecting gems, and finally the star. It's a really underrated game. Dare I say, an underrated gem. And it's one of my favorites from Nintendo EPD. This is a game that I've been wanting a sequel for the longest time. So for me at least, this goes in S tier. This is how you make a Toad game.
yeah, I would say personally I would put it at like maybe the top of A tier, but I agree that this game is amazing. It's designed really well. It's like I feel like it's the perfect way to do like a 3D puzzle platformer that uses some mechanics from Mario, but also kind of doing its own thing. I love the, like you said, like the little diorama look to it. And I really like how it expands upon the 3D world style as well, kind of having even more creative locations. It doesn't really look like the standard Mario style anymore. It looks kind of even closer to Galaxy 2 in like the sense of it having like unique locations and things. And I like that there are certain like enemies that don't even appear in 3D World, like the Shy Guys, and also those like little mole guys with like the sprout on their head. Like there's a lot of like really interesting enemies in this game. And also, it's also really cool that they added like even more content in this on the in the Switch release. So it is definitely a really good game, and I really hope it gets a sequel at some point. So, there's so much potential for what they could do in this style too. Like they were able to make so many different levels. So, and I would say though, like this game also has some just really well-designed puzzles too. They're not like super easy because some of them actually like require some thought, especially towards the end of the game. So I really like the concept of this game. So I would personally say A tier. Personally, I'm not sure if I want to put it above Galaxy 1 though. Just because Galaxy 1 had a slightly, much bigger impact and like culturally, but like quality-wise, I would say they're definitely both excellent. I'm just gonna put it a little below Galaxy 1 just as a compromise, I would say. But I still agree that Treasure Tracker is an excellent game. And it also, another thing that I appreciate about it is that it brought Toadette into the spotlight more. I think Toadette, before this game, was like a pretty underrated character, but now she appears in a lot of different games. Definitely not underrated anymore. So I feel like Treasure Tracker definitely elevated her to like a kind of a main Mario character, rather than one that only appears somewhat frequently, either in Mario Kart or like the sports games or Thousand Year Door. She now appears in mainline games and is a regularly playable character. So I think Captain Toad is definitely the thing for that. So definitely a very good game.
Yeah, I would put it above Galaxy for me personally, but if we're being a little objective, I would say Galaxy is a better game. But man, Captain Toad, we need a
Yeah.
sequel.
Also, we also saw in that game, like, one of the levels that I wanted to bring up is that one that kind of recreates arcade Donkey Kong a little bit, where it had Spike instead of Donkey Kong, though I think you would probably approve of that. But
Absolutely.
yeah, but I think that was a little bit of a hint to what was to come for a couple of these next games, like Super Mario Odyssey, which had New Donk City, one of the coolest locations in the Mario franchise. Just kind of an interesting way to segue into this next game here. But for quite a while, Mario Odyssey was my favorite game of all time. It was the perfect successor to 64 and Sunshine's style, while also incorporating some elements that I loved from the Galaxy games and 3D World. So just overall, it is very well designed. I really like the capture mechanic. I feel like that is a really cool way of implementing power-ups into a sandbox style game. The locales are excellent, like I already mentioned with New Donk City, but as well as like the Seaside Kingdom, or like Steam Gardens, or even like Bonneton. There are so many really cool locations here. The character designs are really creative and wacky. This was kind of like a return to form to that like wacky style in a way. I mean, sure, yeah, 3D World was creative in a lot of ways, but Odyssey seemed to be like, it went even farther, I would say. It was kind of back on the level of like the Galaxy games and Sunshine and even like the older Paper Mario games in terms of like how wacky and interesting they could create characters. So it's just an excellent game throughout. And I love the structure of the game as well. I don't think there were too many moons in the game. I kind of really liked just stumbling upon one while exploring. I feel like the game really encouraged exploration, and I really like kind of open Mario games that you kind of like explore more. I guess like platformers in general that are kind of like open sandbox, and you can kind of explore the environment more. I really like that, and Odyssey just handled it excellently. Very memorable. It was definitely a great way of kind of like kicking off like the Switch 1 generation alongside Breath of the Wild. So yeah, this is definitely a game that I love to come back to, and it's still my favorite 3D Mario game. This absolutely goes in S tier for me, right above Galaxy 2.
Yeah, for me at least, this definitely goes into S tier. It is my favorite Mario game of all time. And I gotta say, from the creativity, the captures, exploration, finding the moons like an Easter egg hunt. I love almost everything about the game. It is truly the renaissance that the Mario series needed after the generic era from 2012 to 2016. But even though we're long past those days, the game just still holds up so well.
Oh,
And it even got an upgrade on the Switch too to make it 4K. Super Mario Odyssey is a masterpiece, and it goes in S tier. One problem with it though, well actually two. Luigi isn't playable, and Nintendo just did nothing with Super Mario Odyssey after it released. Like back in the GameCube era, you would constantly see them reference other games in the spin-offs like Sunshine, Luigi's Mansion, but you didn't see that with Odyssey much. Most you get is Cappy's cameo in Smash, and some New Donk City stages here and there. But nothing to the extent of like it was on the GameCube. But they are doing that now. Only instead of Odyssey, they're taking inspiration from Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Man, there's someone at Nintendo that just really doesn't like Super Mario Odyssey.
Yeah.
And really likes the Talking Flowers.
Though I will say, though, I am kind of happy that they are acknowledging newer creative Mario games again, because
me too.
Because it's really cool seeing Talking Flower appear in all of these games. Though I hope they do kind of look back on Odyssey. I'm hoping that Mario Tennis Fever at least has an Odyssey stage as well. That's other than New Donk City. Though I wouldn't be disappointed by New Donk City Court, though. I hope they reference another location and a character other than Pauline. But moving on, we have Bowser's Fury. And this one is pretty interesting because it is kind of like a side game within the port of 3D World on the Switch. but it is a pretty good and pretty substantial side game. Even though it's short, it's excellent. And I feel like it's designed incredibly well. And I really like how it takes some of the formula and elements from 3D World and kind of adapts it into the more open sandbox style, kind of akin to Odyssey and Sunshine. And I love how massive the area is. It's like really like the first time we've seen like a fully open world Mario game. It's just incredible. And even though, like I said, even though it's short, it's very replayable. Like, it doesn't really feel that repetitive playing through it because you can kind of do a lot of things in different orders. So it kind of feels fresh in a lot of ways because you can go off to like these different locations as long as you have them unlocked. And it's just designed just really well. And it kind of proves that, like, the 3D world kind of formula can work in, like, an open sandbox style. So, and also, like, the Fury Bowser, like, mechanic in the game was also really cool as well. The fact that it was kind of on a timer, so you have kind of periods of the game where it's calmer, and you can just kind of collect the cat shines, like, leisurely. But then when Bowser pops up, you're kind of in a rush to either get the next one or kind of dash to become like Giga Cat Mario. It's like, it is so exciting and so interesting, like how the gameplay flows through Bowser's Fury. And it would be amazing to see like a concept similar to Bowser's Fury kind of blown up into like a bigger 3D Mario game at some point. But still, I love this game and it is really good. Definitely a perfect side game to add to a Wii U port. Honestly, one of the best things they've ever added to a Wii U port, honestly. So...
the best thing! Absolutely! Yeah. Now, when it comes to Bowser's Fury, I'm gonna just judge it as a side mode, because that's what it is.
Oh, yeah.
But the concept, just going even more open with Mario, but also incorporating the power-ups and stuff like that, I think that it's a great side mode, and it definitely sets a good blueprint for an upcoming 3D Mario game. It is a bit shorter than I'd like, but really that's the only flaw I have with it. And I wish that the movement was more similar to Odyssey. You do have more freedom than you do in 3D World, but it's not to the level of Odyssey yet. But regardless, what's not to love about Bowser's Fury? You got Mario and Bowser Jr. teaming up. This story's interesting too. You're not rescuing a princess or anything like that. You have to save Bowser from his own fury. That is cool. And that's not even to mention the perfect theming. Because there is a huge cat theme going on.
Yeah.
All the enemies are cats. There are adorable kittens on the islands. Oh, it's just... I want to play this after we do this discussion.
Yeah, this is honestly...
yeah.
I would say... like, the fact that they made all of the enemies into, like, cat versions of them is... I feel like it's really a prime example of how wacky, creative, and interesting EPD Tokyo
Put it in S tier just for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna put it in S tier, maybe just the bottom of S tier, because, like, it is a smaller game, but it is pretty excellent for what is there. But... finally, we have Donkey Kong Bananza. Oh, banana! This game is perfect! I cannot say that about many games, but I honestly want to put another tier above S for this one, because I feel like it's even better than Odyssey. A sliver better than Odyssey, but that is a monumental feat. Being better than Odyssey. I mean, I like Thousand Year Door better than Odyssey, but like, still.
Well, that's something we didn't know about you.
Still, but like, in an objective standpoint, like, still topping Odyssey is just kind of crazy. So, but
I know what to call it here. Just call it the Bananium route.
Yeah,
that's all you gotta do.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it comes to Donkey Kong Bananza, there's a very clear reason why I said my favorite Mario game when it came to Super Mario Odyssey. Because it was once my favorite game of all time, but Donkey Kong Bananza dethroned that. Oh my goodness, there has been so much going on in the Nintendo Switch 2 era. The pricing, Mario Kart World being polarizing. But when games are this good, when games are like Donkey Kong Bonanza, it makes those moments that are less pleasant seem all the more worth it, because Nintendo is still absolutely capable of putting out some of the greatest, in my opinion, the greatest game ever made. It took what Odyssey created and just expanded upon it. Collecting Banandium gems, you have a lot more resources. You get to get the treasure maps, you get the fossils, and you can see where the Banandium gems are. I mean, you could do that in Odyssey, but it did kind of feel like cheating going to Talkatoo or Uncle Amiibo. But really, the highlight for me is that you're constantly doing something. Like punching through the ground, digging. It never gets old. I gotta say, I think this game might have brain rotted me. Because I went back to Tears of the Kingdom, and it just wasn't as fun to me. Because there's a lot of walking around until you find something, but in Bonanza, it's just...
You'll
never have to wait.
Something. Yeah, and I have never felt that digging was monotonous at all. Like, it's actually fun to just dig everywhere. It's just like, they somehow make it so satisfying that you'll never want to stop playing this. Honestly, I think it's too good. Like, it's just so fun to just go everywhere. This is a
game that will, like, corrupt you.
Yeah,
you won't want to play anything else after playing it.
Yeah, you'll become Donkey Kong. It's like, just finding...
I mean, I already am.
Yeah, but finding all of the Banandium gems, the fossils, it's just excellent. And the game is also really creative, too. Like, it's just as creative as Odyssey, if not even more than that. Because they think of so many really cool ideas of, like, because, like, with Odyssey, they have to base the locations off of, like, just general ideas and things. Like, oh, like, we're gonna have a city. I mean, it is creative, but, like, they're still, like, pulling from, like, a certain element that you would expect. But Bonanza, they kind of have to go wild because it's underground. They have to think of these wacky, crazy things, like a banana-shaped sun in an underground resort, or like I'm trying to think, because there's so many, like, interesting things, or like an icy layer that's, like, kind of like basically, like, that's called the
like ice cream.
Yeah, it's like based on, like, ice cream, and, like, part of it's like has like lava and stuff flowing through it, and then there's also, like, one where there's, like, an artificial sun that you have to turn on, and there's, like, snakes living there, and just it is just so interesting. Man.
I will say this before we get into anything else. I'm trying to keep this tier list as spoiler-free as possible. I mean, I'm sure most people already know what the spoilers are, but I've been working on my review for Donkey Kong Bonanza, and although the game released almost 3 months ago, I want to give this game justice.
Yeah.
Because this has become my favorite game of all time. It is what I consider to be the best game ever made. And you definitely should play Donkey Kong Bonanza. This is the reason to get a Switch, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would say, I'm gonna do, like, a little segment on spoilers, because I feel like it's definitely worth mentioning. So, if you haven't finished the game, then skip to the timestamp on screen. So, yeah, I kind of wanted to get into a little spoilers here, but man, the fact that they bring back King K. Rool is just incredible. Like, that really elevated this game even more for me. It was already on the level of Odyssey, but that just pushed it even more. Like, having that whole segment, like, after Void Kong's battle, revealing that what seemed to be the Banandium root was actually K. Rool's belly, and then you go down into the core and smash through Kremlings that have their, like, original sounds from the older games, like when you hit a critter, they go like, oh! Like, they make the same sounds that they did, like, it is just amazing. And then, like, when K. Rool takes over New Donk City, oh, it's like literally...
It is just too perfect.
It is the best ending in a game ever. Oh, man. Like, I just want to go back and play it again. It is, like,
I just gotta say, Nintendo EPD cooked with this one. Like, not only did they do their own thing and make an incredible game, but it pays so much fan service to the Donkey Kong series. And seeing K. Rool back in the most grand way imaginable, this is how you bring back a character.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is just amazing. And also, like, how they handled Pauline in the game is really cool, too. Almost kind of serving as, like, a prequel to some of the modern Mario games, while also kind of like a sequel to, like, the older Donkey Kong Country games. It's really
I guess
interesting.
it's kind of like Yoshi's Island,
Yeah.
where the characters are aged down. But I gotta say another thing, this is the game that really debuted Donkey Kong's new design. Like, it was in Mario Kart World first, but this is where it fully shines. And I gotta say, I can't go back to Primordial Jimmy Neutron after seeing this new design.
Yeah.
He is so expressive. He looks so good!
Yeah. And the one thing is, I will say, it is unfortunate that it got overpriced DLC, like, shortly after launch. I really feel like that should have either been free or like $5 to $10. But I will say though, the Emerald Rush mode is really fun, and I am enjoying that despite the price, because you can unlock most of the levels over time, and it is a very replayable mode. I will give it that.
It is.
But it is
I enjoy it. I just think it's overpriced.
Yeah, I would say it is definitely more substantial than Luigi's Balloon World, but yeah, really fun, well-designed mode. I just think that should have been either cheaper or free. But yeah, I have almost nothing but positive things to say about Bananza other than that DLC. So I just absolutely recommend it. It is just such an incredible game. It, like, honestly, I would definitely say, like, it's better than any 3D Mario game. I mean, I guess that's kind of easy to say because we already kind of ranked some of the best 3D Mario games on here. But just, like, everything about this game, I feel like it tops, like, some of Mario's, like, best open sandbox 3D platformers. And yeah, I'm kind of satisfied for now in terms of, like, 3D Mario. Even though we got a Donkey Kong game instead of a 3D Mario, I'm still satisfied right now. Like, I don't need another 3D Mario game until, like, 2027. I wouldn't mind if we get one, like, next year, but Bananza is just too good. Like, it is an excellent 3D platformer. And an excellent, even though it's not a
thing. The trade-off of getting this over a 3D Mario game shortly after launch was so worth it. Like, a 3D Mario game, that's something everyone would expect. But a 3D Donkey Kong game, that was far more exciting. And then it released, and it was better than I thought, which is insane because I played the game early, and I really enjoyed it, and I knew it was going to be my favorite game of all time. Yeah. But how does a game exceed my already sky-high expectations? That is unreal.
Yeah, games like this, like Donkey Kong Bananza, like, we always do get really good Nintendo games, but we don't get ones this good very often. Games like this remind me of why I still love Nintendo games. Because, like, even though, as a company, they make some weird decisions, their games can still be incredible. Like, it is just such an amazing game.
I think that Donkey Kong Bonanza holds, like, a special place when it comes to Nintendo games, like, in a tier of quality, just, like, going above and beyond. I would consider games like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, and Donkey Kong Bonanza to all be on the same tier. Like, those are the cream of the crop, the biggest games I've ever released. Donkey Kong Bonanza, especially, they're on a tier of their own. There are good Nintendo games. There are great Nintendo games. Then there are bad ones. And then there are games that are peak fiction.
Yeah. Dare I say, this is the 1,000-year door of 3D platformers. Of course I'd say that.
Well, that's something we didn't know about you. But man, just going through this list of Nintendo EPD's gems.
Yeah,
I want to play some Donkey Kong Bonanza, but I also want to play Super Mario Galaxy 2. Maybe that'll be the next innovation in gaming, being able to play two games at once.
Yeah, when you look at all these games, like, I like how we've been saying, or at least you have been saying, like, throughout the video, oh, I want to play Bowser's Fury, oh, I want to play Galaxy 2, oh, I want to play Bonanza. I've been thinking the exact same thing, because all of these games are excellent, and I want to play all of them right now. Like...
Oh, so that means we should do a tier list with just Sticker Star and only Sticker Star.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like EPD Tokyo have kind of maintained a level of quality over the years that not a lot of other Nintendo studios have really, like, come close to matching, other than maybe the Zelda team, I would say. So, I would definitely say this is, like, a pretty excellent lineup of games. Like, even the games in, like, the B-tier games are still, like, very good by, like, Nintendo standards, I would say. And then, like, their only stinker is, like, one that's not even really, like, their fault. I feel like that was probably a higher
It was
up-
Nintendo's.
It was Nintendo's fault. Like, that was probably, like, the internal Nintendo decision. So I wouldn't even fault EPD Tokyo for that, because they kind of really just
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
they probably just developed the framework of it. So everything else, I would just say, EPD Tokyo is one of the most consistently good developers at Nintendo. I would say it's probably up there with HAL, even though HAL had some weird things before, like Star Allies. I would say almost all of their other games were great. So, between, like, HAL, EPD Tokyo, the Zelda team,
Retro Studios?
Retro Studios, maybe even Alpha Dream. Paper Jam isn't that
Paper
good,
Jam?
but I would say that might have been Tanabe's fault on that one. So
Tanabe's
yeah,
touch. It's
yeah.
like the Midas touch, but whenever he gets a hold of something, it's not what fans want.
Yeah. Though I would say everything else that Alpha Dream developed was pretty top notch. So yeah, I would say, like, EPD Tokyo is probably, like, number one in terms of, like, most consistent in terms of, like, quality. But yeah, anyways, let us know what you think down in the comments. And anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to go subscribe to Demeech, and make sure to leave a like and subscribe. And make sure to check out my Discord server and Blue Sky if you want to. Stay perky!
Tung 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 sahur.